Hey friends, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm gonna show you how to make a grilled vegetable Napoleon dish that I absolutely love. It's my favorite. I'm so excited to teach you how to make. Yeah, I'm filming.
I brought a block of halloumi cheese. Don't use it.
I brought my own.
The kids ate that.
So I gotta go out and get more?
Yeah. Bye.
So every year I do this wine pairing dinner at my restaurant. It's called the End of the Harvest. It happens at the end of the year in October, and it's a collaboration between the local wineries, the local farmers, and I just put a menu together based on the flavor profiles of the wines that I choose and the vegetables and the produce and the local ingredients that I use. It's a wonderful event, sells out every year, a year in advance, and because it's limited to the first 70 reservations. And one of the dishes that I made about 10 years ago, I started it in 2006, was a grilled vegetable Napoleon. And this dish is not only beautiful to look at, it's a spectacular, flavorful dish. It's got the perfect balance of grilled vegetables, charred halloumi, beet puree, and some pesto. This is just gonna be one of those dishes that really grabs the attentions of your guests. And I'm very excited for you to prepare this for your own friends and family, because it is a wonderful, wonderful dish. My restaurant started in 1976. My father was a banquet waiter at the Plaza Hotel. His gift is his palate. My mom, same thing. She just has a wonderful way of taking certain ingredients and putting them together, making this very balanced, very flavorful, yet very simple profile in anything that she cooks. My father taught me to cook simply, but with fresh ingredients. And that was the cornerstone for my restaurant and the cornerstone for this channel. You're gonna find that this dish is also very simple to make, and it's also very flavorful. We're gonna start out by preparing the eggplant. When you salt the eggplant, you wanna salt it as if you were putting enough salt on it to eat it. You don't wanna add too much salt because then it'll be excessively salty. And the reason why we salt the eggplant is because we want the bitterness of the eggplant to come out. The salt will actually draw brown moisture out of the eggplant. And when they're organic and they're young, usually they're not too bitter. But either way, the eggplant needs a little bit more salt, so it doesn't really matter if you salt it, whether it's sweet or not. You're gonna let that sit on the counter for about 20 minutes or until the eggplant begins to sweat. You're gonna wanna cut your peppers into quarters, and then in the middle of each pepper, there's going to be what I would call a spine. And you want this to lay flat on the grill, so your best bet is just to gently slice that off. When we make this vegetable Napoleon, I'm gonna make 4 separate orders. Each one is gonna get 2 slices of squash, both yellow and both green, so 4 slices of squash total. It's about the thickness of 5/16 of an inch, which is a little over, I think, 8 millimeters. The best form of beets that you can use for the puree that will be on the bottom of this dish is organic, and you can purchase your beets locally if they're available. But then you have to boil them and peel them. It's a little labor intensive. Costco sells these beets here. They're organic in a 3-pack. Each pack is 17.6 ounces or 500 grams. We're gonna use 1 pack to make our puree. To the beets, we are going to add 1/8 of a cup of olive oil, 1/2 teaspoon of granulated organic garlic, 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar, a full teaspoon of Celtic sea salt, a good few turns of organic peppercorns, and make sure you blend this up and puree it really, really well. Basically, what you want to do is cut your halloumi into 1/4-inch slices. Halloumi is an amazing cheese that comes from Cyprus, and it's one of my absolute favorites. My brand that I like the most is called Hellenic. You can buy any halloumi that you like. Just taste it first, because some of them tend to be a little saltier than others. We're gonna put 4 1/4-inch slices, or 5 millimeters, I believe it is, per serving. So I cut 16 slices. It's about the equivalent of roughly a little over a pound of halloumi. When I normally make this dish, I season it with a mix that I came up with called the Italian Stallion. And if you're interested in that mix and the proportions, you can click on the link above. It'll take you to that recipe. It's another video, or you can go to my website, awarehouseChef.com, and you can get a printed version of the Italian Stallion. But today I wanted to keep it even simpler than that. Rather than use the Italian Stallion, I've actually made this dish with this organic herb de Provence from Star West Botanicals. And that's gonna be my seasoning, along with some granulated garlic, some Himalayan salt, and some fresh ground black pepper. Normally when I make this dish, I use a balsamic vinegar, but rather than use a balsamic vinegar, I'm gonna use a balsamic glaze. I'm gonna put a little bit less. I find that the sweetness and the density of the glaze gives it a really nicer flavor than just straight balsamic vinegar. I'm gonna start off with these gorgeous portobello mushrooms. I'm gonna put them with the top side down. I'm gonna season that again with a little bit of balsamic glaze, just a drizzle, not too much. Put our herb de Provence, our granulated garlic, a little bit of Himalayan sea salt, and a good quality organic olive oil. Basically, we'll repeat this process for all the vegetables. When you do the peppers, you wanna put them with the outside facing up. The reason why is because they will collect an enormous amount of seasoning. You won't be able to get it off. We want to do this in layers because when we do it in layers, we can guarantee that every single slice that's here is going to get the proper seasoning. If you just pour it in there, you never know where it's going to land. Now we're going to stir this whole thing up. Just be careful not to break the portobello mushrooms as you mix these all together. Now, if you were to lay these flat in separate pans, you can bake them off in your oven. I recommend you do it at 450 degrees until everything gets soft and nicely colored on the edges, not burnt. I'm gonna cook these off on my barbecue on a medium-high heat. My barbecue has a thermometer. I want the grill surface temperature to be around 400 degrees. There you have it. Grilled vegetable halloumi, one of my absolute favorite dishes. If you're a total vegan, you do not need to add the cheese. If you want, you could accompany it with some grilled shrimp or some grilled chicken. It's a beautiful dish, and I'm telling you right now, if you have guests over, you are gonna blow them away.
I hope you didn't use the halloumi.
No.
Honey.
Beautiful thing about this dish is you can make it in advance, and then when you want to serve it, you take your vegetable Napoleons, you put them in the oven, you reheat them at 300 degrees Fahrenheit for about 20 minutes or until the center reaches a safe temperature that the health department recommends to be 160 degrees. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments down below and please hit that subscribe button. Thanks.